The topic for today is return on investment and financial impact of customer experience. I will skip the introduction slides because Menva have greatly introduced me in detail. So if I could just ask you to tell a couple of words about yourself. Please share your name, maybe if you don't mind the position at the company you work for, where are you from, what part of the world, what industry, what region, and if you could let us know, are you on CX side of the company, are you looking after customer experience, or more on a commercial side of business? Looking after sales, marketing, I don't know, maybe operations or general management. And what is your biggest challenge in terms of return on investment of customer experience? What's basically the reasons why you were interested in this workshop? And finally, what is your expectation from this workshop? So please don't be shy, switch on the audio and video and say a couple of words about yourself. So who is brave to be the first one?
I can speak.
Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Lina Yahya. I am the Head of Service Excellence and Customer Experience at Track Bank. I live in Dubai, been in the bank for the last 16 years and took the role under CX over the last 5 years. I think the biggest challenge for me personally is how to maintain the momentum of CX across the, especially the C-suite and the employees, especially when challenging times like the COVID or maybe any other challenges that we might face. How do we keep the momentum and keep them driving CX as the key aspect to really improving business even through challenging times?
Thank you very much, Lina. I think the challenges you are like saying now are very common across all different parts of the globe.
Olga, can I add before you answer, or would you answer one by one?
Absolutely, Farhan. Please go ahead.
Such a pleasure to see you again. For the benefit of everybody else, I have 25 years of experience in the field of customer experience as well, with multiple banks globally, and now I've started my own consultancy with the name of CX Future. I'm very interested in this topic because this is something that I've struggled with my management in multiple organizations, because unfortunately the top management does not understand the role of CX in terms of a return. For them, this is a good to have, not a must to have activity, customer experience, and they do not see it generating any specific green dollars. You know, they understand the blue dollars. They understand that CX generates the awareness, the excitement, brand enhancement, but they do not understand how it generates the actual revenue. So would be very interested. So thank you very much for picking up this topic.
Yeah, fantastic, Farhan. Thank you very much. And again, the story that the top management is not really hearing us, is not really believing us that we are about real money is also a very universal topic across the globe. So anyone else wants to introduce himself or herself before we dive into the content?
Yeah, hi, I'm Daniel de la Fuente. I'm currently living in Vienna, in Austria. I represent, yeah, a little bit of the CX side, of course, but more into the user research and usability. And what I see in the financial sector, I'm working for a bank, is that, so like every brand, it's a promise. So we need to keep this promise alive. And this is constantly evolving and changing based on the touch points of the experience. So definitely it's with the COVID, it's a great challenge, how to keep it human, how to keep it personal with all this distancing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. So let's start. And by saying that, let me ask you a question. How frequently do you hear this from various companies across industries? Customer is our #1 priority. Customer is really important for us. we do everything for customer. And you can note if you have your video on, or just put plus sign in the chat, or just recall how frequently you have heard this message recently across different media. Yeah, I see that some people are adding in the chat. It's really quite common that companies are claiming customer is really, really important for us. But look at the other side. Can you recall if you, as a person, have recently been mistreated by a company as a client? Probably employees of the company were inattentive, probably they were slow, probably greedy, probably you have seen that they didn't really care about you and cared more about themselves. And well, in general, you have been treated badly in any way by the company. And again, you don't have video on, so just put the plus sign in the chat so that we can see your reaction. And while you think about that, about your recent experience, I can share from my own personal experience as a customer, as a mom, and as a person who goes shopping for a while, once in a while, that it's quite a common thing that the customer experience we all are facing is unfortunately quite frequently far from being perfect. That we really see the examples when the promises the companies are giving us that customers are our number one priority is not really like getting true. So looks like there is a great mismatch here. So let's try to figure out what's going on and what's the reason. Let me tell you about one research that have been done a while ago, back in 2012, but it's still very actual now. It's been a research done by the company called Forrester Research, a big American research and consulting company. And what those gentlemen have done is that they have asked the companies, like quite a big number of companies, ask them, do they think you as a company are customer-centric? And 91% of the companies have said, yes, we are very customer-centric. And then they have asked the customers of the same companies, asking them the same question, asking, do you think this company is customer-centric? And only 10% of the customers have agreed. So there is great difference between how we as a company see ourselves and how good we are, and actually how our customers are seeing us. So companies quite frequently claiming their care, but we frequently as customers don't see it in reality. On the other side, it seems pretty clear. Good customer experience is essential for commercial success. Most of us here are CX professionals, and that's not even a question to be discussed. Even especially now, because we no longer can differentiate on product features only. There are really few unique products and services in the market. And even if they are, they don't stay unique for a long time. They quite frequently being added by competitor offers that offer similar solution or similar products. So you are no longer alone in the market. Let me give you one example. Actually, it could be really relevant to the your market and the area where you live in. And Farhan, please correct me if those numbers are not exact, because you might have the more updated information on the banking services in Dubai.
Yeah, I think because of the recent mergers, maybe the number has come down to 35 because there are a lot of mergers happening. But it's a huge number. It's still for a very small area. Anything more than 35 is just too much.
Okay, it's still more than 35.
It's huge.
The number is really huge. And some analysts forecast that in the next 2 or 3 years, only half of these banks will be able to survive because it's really huge and it's really too many. And the only way they can differentiate, it's not like pricing of the services, it's more or less similar financial conditions. But the only area where those banks can differentiate is really the quality of customer experience. So the link is obvious. Basically, if we manage to create consistently good customer experience, We meet or exceed consumer expectations. Then we have increased satisfaction and brand perception. It translates into better loyalty and advocacy and desire to come back and purchase more, and then into the increase of profitable revenue. So basically, the link is pretty obvious and pretty clear. And the reality, the research confirms that. Let me give you one more example. This was a big research that have been done also in the United States. What the research company called Watermark have done is that they have selected quite a big database of companies, and they have control their stock price. In the United States, stock price is the biggest indicator of the commercial health of the company. So they have taken the database of the companies and they have split them into 3 distinct categories. First category was customer experience leaders, the companies who have shown great value of customer experience, great quality of customer experience. Then there was a control group, it was S&P 500, and then there were companies who have been showing less than perfect customer experience. They have called them customer experience laggards. And researchers have been watching those companies for 7 years, and they've been actually monitoring what's going on with the stock price of those companies. Again, stock price in the United States is the biggest indicator of the financial success. And look at the graph, what have happened, what they have discovered. The market have gone up, so the control group have grown up as well, 51.5% increase, that was a growing market. But look at the customer experience leaders, they have grown even more. Because of their better customer service, customer experience, they become more financially successful, and the market have rewarded it with the higher stock price. But probably the most interesting one is the story that have happened to customer experience laggards. Their stock price have dropped 2.5% despite the growing market. So the companies who have been unable to deliver great customer experience, they lost revenue, they lost on stock price. And just another example, there have been extensive research done by the team of Professor Lyndon Brown, who now lives in Australia. So his academic team have been researching lots of academic data, 25 years of commercial data of more than 10,000 companies. And what the team was looking for is really to find the link between the level of customer centricity of the company and the commercial success. So they have taken more than 35 different commercial metrics and linking with the customer experience within those companies. They have built the index called MRI, Market Responsiveness Index, that actually helps companies measure the level of their customer centricity. And they have been looking for the correlation between the customer centricity, the level of this customer centricity measured by the index, and commercial performance indicators. And imagine what? They have discovered strong positive correlation. The strength of correlation is estimated, and if you're interested, I'll be more than happy to share with you the scientific details of this research. It's quite big and quite academic. It's estimated at 0.51. That means that more than half of the commercial success of the company is explained by the level of its customer centricity. This is scientifically proven research data. So basically, the big picture is clear. We as CX professionals, we understand the link. We know that this link exists just intuitively. We know how it works. And there is a lot of data that proves us that CX is linked to commercial performance. What happens is reality. When you come talking to your boss about funds for customer experience programs, you see faces like this. Many bosses show moderate level of interest when they start talking about customer experience. Yes, they say customer experience is very important, but as Farhan have said, many of them say, okay, this is something nice to have, but now we have other priorities. We have to look at operations, we have to look at sales, but now really we don't have budget for that, so let's wait. So some countries, some companies can be an exception to that, but really many CX professionals do experience difficulties talking to their bosses. So how do we look when we come to C-suite managers talking about CX initiatives? It's more of a like young people, teenagers with like glowing eyes, saying, well, it's so great, let's do that, let's love customer, and let's really fulfill our idea of customer being #1 priority. So they look at us that, yes, we are engaged, we are very inspired, but it doesn't really come through as the commercial message. So we all keep talking a lot, but doing substantially less. And the question is, why is it so difficult? In my view, the key to that is that top managers are really speaking different language. They are used to talk numbers, not emotions. And customer centricity, in a way, is like a cloud. Everyone can see it, and research proof it exists, and we really can see it with our own eyes. But you cannot touch it, you cannot feel it, you cannot measure it. And that's where all this reluctancy to invest comes from. So whatever gets measured gets managed. If you cannot measure it, if you can't measure your commercial success, you're much more reluctant to invest in it.
And sorry to cut you off, Olga. We have a question
yes.
in the chat from Ali Malik.
Yes, Ali.
It says, Olga, I have a small question. We studied some correlation studies, as well as ourselves saw some validate correlations between the two. Seeing two variables moving together does not necessarily mean we know whether one variable causes the other to occur. Can you please share any study or experience which clearly shows the causation of CX to business or financial goals?
Thank you, Ali. This is the fantastic question. And I would love to take it out of this discussion. I'll be more than happy to share with you the results of this research, because it was like a really scientific research that really shows that it's not only correlation, but it's also cause and effect, because the researchers have taken care of this and they have studied the influence specifically of this factor to commercial success. So there is like a big scientific proof how this methodology have been developed, how research have been done to take care of influence of other factors. So let's connect after the workshop, and I'll show my contacts in the end of the workshop. I'll be happy to continue this discussion and to really share the results, or I can connect you directly to the research team. If those results are like not enough, we can dive even deeper and talk to researchers directly and about their methodology. I see that there are some more messages in the chat coming. Menva, can you please voice them?
Yeah, sure. No, the messages before that was just, agreeing to the ones that you've said in the past. Yeah, nothing.
Okay.
From Ines Arwani actually just came in. I will be interested to see the causation as well from Ines.
Okay, great. So afterwards we'll dive deeper into this, and we're more than happy to introduce you to the research team, and they're going to share how they have taken care of the influence of other factors and why they're scientifically confident that there is such a strong correlation between those two factors. And now I would love to move into a little bit of a discussion stage and maybe hear a bit of your views on why is it important to talk numbers, and why do you think, in your experience, in your company, why is it so difficult to really convince C-suite, your CEO, that CX brings money? So maybe you will be happy to share some of your experience from your own company or your industry. Ali, maybe you share something? Okay, so just feel free to.
Maybe I can share something.
Yes, Farhan, thank you.
Oh, sure. I think it's very difficult for them to understand because it's not like sales. You can't go and say, today I hired or I got 3 customers on board. Each customer would buy a product, and the bank would make this much money out of the bank, and this is the return of investment. From customer experience, what we're going to them and saying, oh, I have improved your NPS, let's say by 3 points, or I have improved your CSAT, customer satisfaction score, by a certain number. Oh, this means that you will have more customers, and say, where's the proof? So how do you relate that the result increase in satisfaction means that my number of customers are going to go up? It's a very difficult discussion to, that's why I use the word the green dollar and the blue dollar, because when I go to them and talk to them, I'm talking blue dollars, which is like in terms of presence, in terms of appreciation, but not in terms of value or money. Very difficult to explain to them.
Mm-hmm. So it's difficulty to explain and the difficulty to link, right? So it's 2 aspects. Do I hear it correctly?
Yes, correctly. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Ali actually missed the question. He just chatted saying, if you could repeat the question, would be really great.
Me repeating the question?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's on the screen. Why is it important to talk numbers, and why is it so difficult in your company, in your industry? Okay, so you can add more as we go on, but this is what we hear when we talk with international experts across the globe, and they share their views across different industries. So why is it important? Yes, it's really important to get the support, to set up specific goals, measurable goals with specific targets measured financially, numerically, for all your CX initiatives and strategies. And what's really important, it's important for the company, and it's important for us, ourselves as CX specialists, when we know exactly what we want to achieve numerically, not just in terms of emotion, but really measuring what we want to do. And again, it helps us control the progress and wisely distribute the resources inside the company, because yes, budgets are limited and we really need to understand what brings money. And what is nice to have within CX initiatives, what typically happens in big companies, they are doing a lot. They're doing so much that they cannot really differentiate what brings value for the company and for the customers, and what really doesn't. You can take it off the costs and not really invest there. Then it's important to understand the link between CX and commercial metrics. And again, for company as well as for us, to calculate the return on investment of every CX initiative. And why difficult? Again, maybe I would be very grateful if you join the discussion now and give some ideas to add this list up. Why is it so difficult to talk numbers? First of all, in order to talk numbers, you do need to have a measurement system within the company, working measurement system that everyone believes to. Otherwise, if it doesn't exist in a company, you cannot really prove the numbers. And the data you have in the company needs to be reliable and trustworthy. And there should be a balance between short-term and longer-term effect. Because what's, I think, one of the biggest problems with CX initiatives is that they don't have the direct and immediate effect. It's like some of them have a delayed effect, and it takes time for them to develop. And then again, thank you very much, Ali, for noting this. There is an influence of other factors, and we really need to understand not only the correlation, but really to think of causation, that this factor is causing this, but it's not due to influence of other factors. So, ladies and gentlemen, if anyone is like really willing to contribute to this list, let's do it now. Please switch on your mic and video and share your views. Why is it so difficult to talk numbers with your management?
Can I have a little go?
Yes. Sayed?
Yes, my name is Sayed. I work in the automotive industry, been in CRM and customer experience for a while now. Worked on a few projects, internal, some more, outside. But my view is that, when you start talking numbers, as I think one of our colleagues mentioned, Farhan, it's not really a direct view of sales related topics. It's always been for us, time is a big factor that we have shown good conversion from implementing grassroots projects. And we've always been these SMEs doing some things in the corner. This guy, he does CRM, so customer experience, we have no clue what he does, but there is something happening. To come into effect, you need to be part of the company's objectives. And once you're in the company objectives, you measure success before and during any small customer experience project. And then you look at the difference in terms of what were the results during that time and before that time, and what is the increase that happened afterwards. So I can say that you need to wait 1 or 2, 3 phases until you see the result. It's not immediate result. And you can compare this by saying, before CX and after CX, this is the difference. And it's not an immediate effect, but there are influencers, especially when it comes to attitude, behavior, culture, thinking. All of this is a I think you mentioned something about influence related factors rather than direct business factors. I think they all fall in the same pot, green or blue dollars. The same thing is to compare and to create this balance. But I think is to start your own grassroots project, start with short-term, quick wins, and grow from there, especially if you are in many GCC companies. This is a very new topic. This is not something that, a lot of presentations been happening, and there's a lot of advanced topics. I think many companies are very far from this and need to start from scratch to explain in the beginning, what is this new thing that we're talking about? And because I've done this a few times in few brands and few companies, and really it takes time. And you're not in the, let's say, quick train where the results are quick. You're not in something that's not, you're not in sales or you're not in after sales. You're somewhere in between, and you need to explain yourself properly, and the results will speak on your behalf after, let's say, I don't know, 3 years. So this is, I think, where you have to give yourself some time.
Okay, Syed, thank you very much. And
sorry, I took long.
That's okay. That was very interesting. And really, the influence of time is really important. We'll have a look into this a little bit later. And yes, it's really important to see the influence the UCX initiatives are making on customer experience, and then we can measure that. And talking about measurement system, let me share with you the approach that Customer Experience Professionals Association is offering as a, as a standard way of explaining the importance of measurement. It's a part of the Customer Experience Masterclass when we educate CX professionals on all important areas of customer experience and helping them prepare for international certification. So the idea is basically very simple. Measurement system in any company consists of 3 important layers. And the layers can be different in different industries, different companies, but they still have to be present. All 3 of them have to be present in every company. So the first layer of measurement are commercial metrics. That's how we measure our commercial success. It could be return on investment, could be profits, could be market share, could be percentage of sales for a specific product or on a specific market, could be a number of recommendations we get from specific group of customers or the whole customer database as a whole, amount of average purchase, the frequency of purchases, etc., etc., etc. So the specific metrics can be different, but we somehow, every company somehow is measuring its own commercial success. And by using these metrics, we can tell ourselves whether we are commercially successful or not. The next level, if you go down, is customer experience metrics. And these metrics basically tell us how successful are we building customer experience. So it could be NPS, could be CSAT, could be CS, could be other metrics, could be metrics that the company have invented themselves. And I'm from Russia, from St. Petersburg, and we do work with Russia's largest banks, and we know that some of them have invented their own CX metrics that cater to their own goals. They do not rely on traditional metrics, they invent their own. Doesn't matter. The important thing is that you need to measure customer experience, and you needed to do it reliably so that you can trust the data, that the metric you have used really gives you a clear picture. If I'm successful in building good customer experience or not really. And finally, the third layer that needs to be in the company are the process metrics. And process metrics are the metrics that tell us how well are we doing what we are doing. It could be a number of defects you have in a production line. It could be time to answer the call if you're a call center. It could be FCR, first call resolution, the number of percentage of calls answered from the very first time. Or number of complaints resolved from the first customer call. It could be a billion different metrics, and every company would have those metrics. They're going to be different. They're going to be company specific and industry specific. And those metrics, what they do is they really tell us how successful are we doing and what are we doing. So company can set different targets, say we would like to have no more than this percentage of defective parts or ready to use products, etc. But what's really important is that all those layers in a company to build a measurement system, they have to be linked with each other to build the whole system. And let's see how it works. But before we move into that, maybe you share which metrics do you use in your companies? Looking at this pyramid of 3 layers, what are your commercial metrics? What are your CX metrics you are using? And what are your operational metrics? So we can take our discussion into the more practical area. Anyone? Okay, let's then move on. Basically, if we talk about like typically the companies we work for, in terms of commercial metrics, we would look into things like profits, because it's probably the most easiest to link your CX, your level of satisfaction of your customers and your customer loyalty, link it with money. We are most interested in financial metrics. Just to mention that it could be not only the financial metrics, but other commercial metrics as well, as market share. And a lot of companies are aiming, say, to win that much of the market share. In terms of CX metrics, probably the most used worldwide are NPS and customer satisfaction. And now there is a big trend. The company are more and more looking into CS as an additional metric to measure the easiness, how you can get the product or use the product. And operational metrics, as I have said before, they are very specific, industry specific, department specific. And really every company usually has a big array of operational metrics. So now let's have a look. How can we build a link between operational metrics and CX metrics? And let me ask you a question. Let's say you have run the customer loyalty research, you've made the poll, and you arrived to results that your NPS is equal to 75 percentage points. So what's the most important question you have to ask yourself when you look at this number? What do you think?
I think that the NPS score is extremely high at 75. So maybe you need to look at what are the customers saying from a recommendation perspective in order for you to sustain and make sure that you continuously keep that strength element consistent, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And,
that's a very...
and Olga, I think it depends on the industry, because different industries have different benchmarks. So it needs to be compared. 75 might be very high for one industry, but might be very low for another industry. I think, as she said, she's absolutely right. 75 in general is a very high NPS score.
Okay, so you would probably think, you would probably ask, what can I do to maintain this number? And whether this number is really that high, as it seems, maybe that's just an industry standard, or it's, I mean, nothing outstanding, or, I mean, compared to others, it's really a fantastic results. Okay, great questions. Thank you very much. Any more? So these are very, very important questions to ask. And the fundamental question we always have to ask when we receive any numbers is really why. Why we have received the 75? So what are the factors, what are the drivers of loyalty that allowed us to arrive at this 75, which is really pretty high for most of the industries? And the beauty of that is that when you think about the drivers of loyalty, then you have to look at what have caused this high NPS level. Let's imagine for the simplicity that it's really high for this company, the imaginary company we are talking about. So yes, we want to understand what we have done right that customers like us and want to get back. And in order to understand...
Sorry, Olga.
Yes?
Sorry to cut you. Just a question. So your operational KPIs or your operational KPIs would be those metrics on the right, which is the answering the calls and the abandoned rates and all that. Is that how you're linking the CX component of loyalty with the operational elements, right?
Yes, yes.
By
absolutely.
asking the why. Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Because
Amazing.
those why is actually like NPS. What is measuring NPS? NPS is measuring customer happiness with the product or with the service, right?
Absolutely.
And, yes. And then when you ask why, and then you look into what I as a company have done to achieve that. And it could be different components. It could be, say, speed, related to speed, because I am very fast. I'm answering the call quickly. I'm not missing any emails. It could be about the product. It could be like I have great product, great price quality combination, and I sell it at the right price. And it's very high quality. There is a very low percentage of manufacturing defects. That's why customers like it. I don't know, say in automotive industry, it's very important that how many, like the percentage of defects per, I don't know, per 1,000 vehicles, right? Because we all want to have reliable cars that you don't need to take to maintenance, to repair shops frequently. It could be not even related to the product itself. It could be some additional stuff that goes together with the product, the delivery or delivery conditions and terms. It could be the insurance and conditions of insurance that go together with the product. So for every product, for every service, those drivers can be different. But as long as you know that your drivers, what drives loyalty of your customers, which of my actions are really bringing success, then you can build this link. You can build this link and you know exactly what you need to do in order to create great customer experience. So this is the link that links the bottom of your measurement system, the operational metrics and the CX metrics. But we also have to build the second link, is the link between commercial and CX metrics, and really make sure that all pyramid is working and what we are doing on operational level really translate into money. And CX is the way factually to translate this into real finance results. So let's have a look at the typical return on investment calculation. And we all know it's very easy to calculate return on investment when we have an instant result. Just let's imagine, like, one of the reasons why digital marketing became so popular is that it's really easy to calculate the return on investment. Say you run a Facebook advertising campaign, And then you can specifically, up to a very specific cent, calculate the income you receive from a Facebook lead. You build this funnel, you understand the segments, you know how many leads you have received, how many people have clicked on the website, how many people have went all the way to the button order and pay, and then you can backtrack it and understand how much income you received from this specific Facebook lead. Then you know exactly how much you have spent for advertising, and then it's pretty easy to get the return on investment here and now. But what happens with customer experience metrics? It's a little bit more complicated, because we really, as Syed have mentioned, we really need to factor time into this equation, because CX changes don't happen instantly, and we need to have some time lag in order to understand the influence. So, but the basic idea stays the simple. So step one is to define your commercial metrics. What are you going to be looking at? What are the parameters you're going to be watching? Could be average purchase amount, it could be number of recommendations, it could be, I don't know, something else. It could be actually sales volume that you get from those customers. And step one would be to measure your CX metrics, say, let it be NPS for simplicity. Define your key loyalty drivers. Then step two, you do something about them. You implement change program, you change the way you talk to your customers, you package your product, you deliver it, so you do something about it. Then you remeasure again. You have to wait until customers react to changes. It's not going to happen overnight, but we have talked today already about the quick wins, and it's really important for this building this system of measurement. It's very good to take of this some quick wins that you can quickly see the results. You don't need to wait for, I don't know, 5 or 10 years. So top management can really be tired of waiting for so long. So you would pick really quick wins for that. Then you wait until the change happens, and then you remeasure and you re-evaluate changes. And then you can really see the influence of CX into your commercial performance. And what's needed, I mean, it's very simple to say, but it's much more complicated in reality, because we really need the system that will build this link between CX and commercial metrics. And let me just share with you a couple of examples, because we all came here to hear some practical advice and examples how companies are doing it across the world. So let me share with you what I have seen from like our consulting experience, what companies are doing, and then we can discuss this, and I hope you will be able to add more models what you are doing in your company to handle this task. So the basic way to do it is to, first of all, to take your customer base and then split it into 3 big groups. If you are taking NPS, then you would split it into the 3 distinct groups by the level of NPS. You would have promoters, you would have neutrals, you would have detractors, right? And then you can understand the proportion of those 3 groups across your customer population, customer database. You can understand. Yes.
From Lena, she put it on the chat. Do you recommend personally NPS linking to employee performance, or do you recommend it to be linked to brand and profit or product maybe?
To employee performance, you mean specific employee, like a specific person? Or employee performance in general as a company?
When I'm saying no, not employee performance and incentives. I'm talking more on commercial performance, like sales volumes, etc. Or do you recommend it to be as a holistic commercial effect, which is basically the product profitability or the product volume sales? Because I personally have I'm hesitant to link NPS to anything related to individual employee, and would rather, I don't know, and it's just a thought, maybe I would rather have it linked into brand performance or like market share, or for example sales net profit of a specific product, because NPS can sometimes be given at product level. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, let's split the question into a few because it's really important.
Yes.
Thank you, Lina, for asking, because it's really, really important, and it's great that you're asking the questions because we can go deep into the detail. I would not link it to individual employee performance by no means, because there are too much distortions. And if you link it to individual performance, you actually make the person, like specific person and a company as a whole, too focused on the number. And NPS is not only, it is about the numbers, it's just a metric, but it's like a reflection of what's going on in the company. So it's not the number itself that is important. Important is how able are you to create great customer experience. And what are you doing about those numbers? You have measured, okay, so it's about actions. It's not about measurements and numbers as such. And when you link NPS directly to employee performance, there are some examples of that. I know that companies are practicing this, but this needs to be done really, really carefully so that people don't start massaging the numbers in order to get their performance indicators completed. So there are some good examples, like Budapest Bank, for example, have been telling a great story about how they managed to link the NPS to people KPIs, but it took them 4 years. And it took them great level of educating people why is it important and how it works. So without that, it just comes to really thinking about the numbers, but not really actions and not about customer. So that's about, that's the answer about linking to individual performance. Then talking about profits and brand, brand strength and brand performance, it's probably going to be a little bit tougher to link your NPS numbers. You probably want to build like a 3-step link. You link NPS to your profits, to your financial performance. And from that, you build the link further on to brand, because it's really going to be hard to link it directly. I mean, I never seen any examples of linking the CX metrics to brand performance as such. So maybe you have tried that, and it would be really great if you share your experience how you do that.
No, I haven't personally tried on brand yet, but I'm just thinking that usually when it comes to loyalty, the closest KPI, or the closest, I would say, assessment is how your brand would be performing, because and it's not easy, like you said, it's very, very difficult, but I think I'm just trying to weigh in from a loyalty perspective, what is the nearest financial or commercial KPI that you can link together. And that's why I was asking, because and I think, like you said, it's easier to link it to profits than to brand. But I would definitely would wanted your opinion. Is that a realistic thing to try and link it to brand? Does that make sense?
Well, you know, I would really try the simpler links first.
Yes, correct.
Make sure they work, and then look into brand performance, because brand performance, it's a lot of influence of other factors.
Yes,
really,
absolutely.
It's competition. It's, I don't know, external environment. It's your marketing, how aggressive it is, etc., etc., etc. So you're gonna take care of a lot of influencing factors. And answering, thank you again for a very great question regarding which are the closest, the easiest to link metrics. It could be money, just your commercial performance, like here in this example, but it also could be like a more specific financial metrics, say average purchase price, like the average amount of purchase. That's very easy to track, right? I mean, and you can easily build a link. Then it's a number of recommendations. If your business allows tracking it, then bingo, you have a very direct and very specific metric. And you can easily link the, say, different... Yes, Lina?
Sorry, I was just listening.
Okay. So then, look, if you look at the number of recommendations, then you can easily link it to customer loyalty and look at the number of recommendations at different levels.
Can I make a point as well?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I had to leave for a couple of minutes, so I joined in a little bit later. I think this discussion of linking KPIs to NPS and is very, very interesting. And I feel from a staff perspective, because I put myself into the shoes of the staff. And I think, what am I being asked for? I think my KPIs should be the one that I can, those are trackable. If you link something which is general, which is an overall strategy KPI, how much do I own it? How much do I, for example, if the brand has something to do, a person who's sitting in the front, who's a teller, who's a CRO, what has he got to do with the brand? Nothing, zero influence. But if you give me, any incentive related to it, it's unfair to the staff. So those KPIs should be very trackable. And unfortunately or fortunately, NPS is trackable. Its satisfaction scores are trackable. If a customer, if you ask 10 customers, you visited Farhan today, what was your feedback? How satisfied are you with Farhan's performance? Which happens today in the call center. If you look at the call center, after every call, you get a survey, you either transfer to the IVR or even in the call center or you get a survey post in the mail, which is specifically about your experience and experience with the staff itself. So it's very easy to link my performance and my satisfaction that I've given to the customer, dissatisfaction to, and then I should be reprimanded or rewarded according to that.
Olga, can I add into this?
Yes, absolutely, Ali.
Okay. In my experience working for some retail banks and for some retail organizations, if we talk about financial metrics, I see some very significant positive correlations between the CX metrics and some financial metrics like ATV, average transaction value, and something like average basket size. So these are two of the metrics which are rather very easy to correlate and to find the correlation with and to build a business case.
Okay, so it's LTV and average basket size. Yeah, these are, thank you very much, Ali. This is actually also great examples of metrics that can be, they're very trackable and you can easily correlate them, say, with those groups of customers. And then you can easily see how much promoters are like purchasing per purchase and what's the difference to, say, to detractors. And it gives you really like actionable and manageable story, and you can convert it into real numbers. You can show to the man, like come to your top manager and say, look, this is how our loyal customers are purchasing from us, and this is how our less loyal detractors, customers who are not loyal, this is how much they are purchasing. And then you got the convincing numbers because there is a difference. Thank you very much. And yeah, really how we can do that, we can measure, do something about it, because really the whole story about measurement, about CX measurements, it's not only about measurement, it's about management. And then we can look at the difference. Say we have done something, we have done some measurements in the first half of the year, have done the program, have done the changes, improvement, and then have remeasured and say we have seen the change in the proportion of loyal and not loyal customers. And then we can attribute a specific financial number to this, because we know exactly how much money promoters have brought us and how much money detractors have brought us. And we can see the difference that promoters are buying more frequently. And then we can see the change. If you have increased the number of promoters, like in this example in the screen, then we can calculate the direct financial effect from our activity, from our efforts. So we can pin the numerical value to what we are doing. The question again is to measure within, we have been doing a lot, and within those activities, which of those have been really efficient and they have contributed to this change, and which were not that efficient. But in general, this is a very good tool to show the numerical financial difference. And what's really great about that is that we can like dig down the data, we can analyze it by the segment, and we can build different programs, change programs for every segment, like for every product or for every customer segment, for different drivers of loyalty. When we know them, it's really important to know the drivers so that we know where to invest money in order to be successful. And then we can integrate it into the total, like aggregate, on an aggregate level for the whole company, and then see the commercial effect. Let me share with you the example. This is an example from Russian bank. It's called Alpha Bank, one of the, actually the biggest commercial Russian bank. The graphs are in Russian, but let me translate that for you. And it's real data that have been shared by the CX team of Alpha Bank. What they have done is they have split their whole database of customers into 3 groups of detractors, neutrals, and promoters. Detractors are on the left side and promoters are on the right side of every graph. And they have taken a number of commercial metrics and have been watching how consumers are behaving depending on the level of loyalty. What they have taken, first commercial metric, is how many additional products consumers are using. And this is a blue graph, and you can see that detractors are using 2.67 and the promoters are using 2.92. So they're using more additional product, which is for a huge bank, that's a big difference because consumers are using more products from a bank. The orange graph is the number of calls to a contact center. And again, you can see that detractors are calling more than the loyal customers. Then they have also measured the number of customer complaints or requests per 100 people. And again, you can see that the detractors are generating more complaints and more requests than promoters. So it's 3 times difference. It's a red graph, 15 and 5, so 3 times difference. And finally, the green graph shows the average number of visits to a retail office of the bank. And again, we see that the detractors are coming more often. It's 1.6 visits per quarter, I think the numbers are. And the promoters are not really coming to the office. They are happily using the digital tools, and it's 0.2. So the bank is knowing exactly that the promoters are using their products more. They're calling less frequently. They have less complaints, and they don't come to the office. They use the product remotely, while detractors are using the products less, but they call more frequently, they have more claims, and they are frequently coming to the office, which is obviously expensive for the bank. So this is like a real example from our market, how banks have linked those CX indicators with the commercial ones. And this is one approach, and here is another one as well. Maybe we shall stop here for a while and discuss it. Again, maybe you share your experience, which metrics are you using?
Olga, can I add a bit?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So, I feel that selection of the right metrics for finding the correlations is equally important in this case. For example, a few years back, I saw some contact center operational metrics, and one of the metrics was average call handling time. Mm-hmm. Now, imagine in an environment where the supervisors and managers are pushing their frontliners to make their call handling time minimum, which means they are forcing them to finish the call as soon as possible. So imagine this may cause so much dissatisfaction to a lot of customer segment. And somehow, if you put both of the metrics on the scorecards, you will see actually a negative correlation between the two, between the CX metrics and that specific operational metric. Because in my view, if the average handling time metric goes up, if it performs well, it might cause a lot of dissatisfaction to the customer, and CSAT can inversely go down. So it's very important for us to find the right metrics for finding the correlation, and we have to be very clear that which positive relationship can impact into a good business case, and which negative or a mixed correlation can impact into good customer outcomes?
Yes,
What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% with you. Even more, we are just about to complete one big project for a Russian telecom company, and one of the topics of discussions they are discussing within those projects is the attitude to average handling time and how it should be treated in relation to customer experience. And what they are really considering is, it's when you focused on the numbers, it really, I mean, it's about solving customer problem. It's about solving it efficiently and using the minimum time and minimum resources. But it's not only about the number of minutes or seconds you speak to a customer, because if you have closed the call without solving the problem, you're just creating another problem. And
yeah, please. I would like to add something as well after you're done.
Yes, Farhan, please.
No. Once you're done, I'm sorry to cut you.
Yeah, just to let you know that it's a universal problem, and the companies are looking into ways to decrease handling time without really influencing or damaging the customer experience. It's not about like decreasing the time you devote to customer. For them, for this telecom company, it was more about the efficient rerouting of the call, for example. Because for me as a customer, it's like the whole duration of the call when IVR answers the phone, and then it goes, you hear the menu, and then you click on these buttons, and then you go to operator. So it is about increasing the efficiency. And then how else can you decrease average handling time without affecting the quality of customer experience? For example, you can make information system more advanced so that operator has more information for the customer, or you decrease the number of interactions the call center operator shall make in order to find the solution. Again, that's a decrease of the handling time without compromising customer experience. But if you have only one, and again we come to a measurement system, you cannot have only one metric like average handling time, because it could lead you to a wrong place. You need to have a number of metrics that will tell you that you're not only looking after efficiency, but also you're looking after the quality of customer experience, and say if you add average handling time with first call resolution, then it gives you better picture if you are doing a good job or not. And
a very interesting discussion. Actually, I have the privilege of running some of the largest call centers in the world, including one in Russia for Citibank for 3 years. I was the head of customer Citibank Russia call center as well. I started it. I'm a big advocate of average handle time, but please understand that average handle time needs to be in relation with average talk time. So this is a combination of handle and talk time. What is a handle time and a talk time? Talk time is actually the time that agent spends with the customer discussing or talking something. And at the same time, during the call, they say, please hold on, let me take some note. Please hold on, let me talk to my supervisor and get you some information. Please hold on, let me look at the system. And they are handling. So the handle time is a little larger than the talk time. So the call center agents or the management needs to look at the talk time and average handle time both in together. But please understand, there is a word. What is the word? It's average. Some of the calls go higher, some of the calls go lower. This is why it's not every call which you are looking at the total, but the average. An average number is quite safely calculated. For example, average handle time, if I remember, is about 2.5 minutes, 270 seconds, something which is a global standard. About 270 to 280 seconds, which is a global standard, which is quite normal for a good call center. If you look at the reverse side of it, because there is another side of it. Busy call centers have a lot of customers calling in, and you do not want a queue building up. The more you talk, the more you handle, because you want to do a great service, because you want to make sure everything handles. But there is a queue building up and customers start dropping. So I need to look at the abandoned rate as well. Very important that you look at the abandon rate, because the talk time has a direct correlation with the abandon rate. You can do a great service talking to the people. If a lot of people are closing the call, you have a serious problem because those people will never come back. They will never call you because they don't like the wait time. That's why the training needs to adopt how you need to direct the conversation to the right direction. I tell you, I've taken calls in the call center myself as well. Customers love to talk. How's the weather? Who are you? The moment they find a beautiful voice, they want to chit chat. They want to. So it's very, call center world is very, very interesting. I'm sorry, I can go on forever, but.
Absolutely. Thank you, Farhan. And again, we are coming to a question that CX metrics are not hanging in the air. They need to be related. They need to be connected to our operational metrics and to different metrics, not just one. So we need average handling time. We need FCR, first call resolution, probably. Then we need to probably take care of the like financial side, like how much does it cost to run these calls for the customer, and look into this. So this is one approach. And let me share with you another approach that can help you with understanding the link between customer experience and your financial performance. And this comes actually from marketing, and we inherited from digital marketing when we talk about the cost of acquisition of customers, because typically marketing budgets is quite a substantial part of company expenses, and acquisition budget is usually much higher than the maintenance budget for the customer base, which is basically a pity, but that's the way it is in most companies in the world. We want to invest more into acquiring new customers than into keeping the existing ones. And we all know the statistics that it's getting more and more expensive to earn new customers every year. And basically, there are no free customers in the world anymore. They are already someone's customers, meaning that you have earned them from the competition. You have to offer better something, better conditions, better service, better something than they already have, the status quo. So it's really expensive. So if you look at the customer acquisition cost, it could be a really valuable source of proof that customer experience really brings you money when we think about how much it costs to bring new customers. If you look at this example, you can look at the number of recommendations. If it's possible in your business, in many businesses it's possible to do, especially if you're in B2B environment, then you can track the recommendations and see the number of people who came by recommendation. And then another important thing you have to know is how much does it cost you to get a new customer. And unfortunately, it's too rarely measured in the real world. And from my experience as well, like you start asking the questions when you go into consulting project, and one of the first questions we usually ask is how much does it cost you to acquire a new customer? And most of the businesses really don't know how much it is. They know it's expensive, they know it's big, but they never measured. And then we come to that a little bit later, but that's a question of cooperation with other departments, because it's your marketing guys who can tell you how much it costs to get a new customer. But as long as you get these numbers, you are really on the right track, because now you can prove how much it costs to acquire new people and how much you can get by recommendations. And you can use the same approach with things like LTV, so that people not only new people coming thanks to recommendations, but just people are staying with your company and they renew the contract. If you talk about insurance, or they purchase, say, the car of the same brand, they stay within the brand. You don't need to win this customer via advertising or something. It's just because of the real of the good relationship with this customer, it coming again to the dealership and renewing the car every 3 or 5 years, buying the same brand. So here again, you can directly relate the value of your CX efforts into the financial terms. And let me show you one more example from Alpha Bank. They have done the same research, and they have been looking at the correlation between the longevity of the client and how much money it brings to the bank. And the numbers on the horizontal X is actually the number of months the client is with the bank. And the graph shows that the longer it stays with the bank, the more money the customer brings. So by knowing your LTV, you can again, and they have linked it to the amount of money the customer brings to the bank. So they know exactly that if they manage to keep a customer for, say, more than 8 months, they start generating revenue from that. And they know exactly how much. And when you have these numbers, it's quite easy to come to your boss and operate these numbers to prove how important it is to invest into CX programs and into the loyalty of your customers. Yes, I see something in the chat. Ali, maybe you comment using your voice so that everyone can hear it. You can elaborate on your comment.
Sorry, Olga, I missed some of the part in between, but I love the whole content and it's so much informative, loving every bit of it. And thank you for sharing so much wisdom with us. I'm totally aligned with what you have said.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So we have 15 minutes left, not much. And I'd like to share with you one more approach. And it relates exactly with the metric I've been mentioning in the beginning of our conversation, the MRI tool, which I'm more than happy to introduce you in more details to, because we are the partner, we are partnering with the company who have created this tool, the Market Culture. We are partners in Russia and Russian-speaking countries, so more than happy to tell more about it. But let me give you an example. That's a lot of words here. I keep it deliberately, so if you're interested, you can read it afterwards. But what's really important for us is to know this is the story of BlackRock Financials. This is the financial company that's managing investments for the customers. They have been doing MRI research, understanding their level of customer centricity. And the beauty of this tool is that it's not only giving you the number, it gives you the understanding which aspects of your customer centricity are really great and which aspects are kind of not so great. There is a room for improvement. And it gives you clear understanding where do you need to invest, where do you have to invest money and resources in order to bring, in order to build a stronger customer-centric culture. So for me, the most important thing, and for our discussion, is the part marked in blue that says result. So this is internal estimate of the company. What they have said that they, due to work on improving the level of customer centricity, they managed to get an increase in customer retention of around 10% and increased investment from existing clients over the following 12 months. That's worth several $1 million in fees. Again, they are a financial company. They are surviving on fees. The customers are paying them for managing and handling the investments properly. So what they have done, they have measured their level of customer centricity. They've done an extensive program how to improve themselves. So they have seen that they are pretty weak on cross-functional collaborations, and they've built the cross-functional teams that were solving customer problems. And it really worked. It translated into, so this program, again, they knew where they are weak. They have invested there. They have fixed that. Consumers loved that. And they have translated into the money. They have built, remember this triangle. So they have used all 3 levels of this triangle. They know where they are wrong. They have been controlling it with CX metrics. And then they have tracked it down to financial performance. And the whole thing worked. And just another example, it's Westpac. It's also the financial organization, also in Australia. And there was a really interesting case that was actually related to collections department. Those are the bad guys. If you take money, if you take a loan and you cannot pay it back, then then the bank contacts you and actually, yeah, yes, Ali, I see your comment that it's a great assessment tool. it's really good. We are working with it for more than 3 years now in Russia. We see some great results. So I highly recommend to look into it and really use it in your practice for your companies. And that's actually a great way to link your level of customer centricity, what you are doing in the company, with the results, with the financial performance. That's again another tool to link customer experience and money and show the numerical proof how much value CX is bringing. So what those guys in Westpac have done, they have measured, they have realized that one of the biggest problem with their department is that they see themselves as the bad guys, as the collectors. They've been working on changing the mindset and moving away from collectors to people who really help customers manage their resources wisely and plan their financial obligations. That was the cultural change, but it translated into real financial results. And results, again, are highlighted here in blue, that they have seen the increased collection rates by 3%, which is internally estimated more than $5,000 over 6 months. So correct specific financial metrics. And here again, you are already experienced, you can see how the pyramid works. So they have the collection rate as a financial metric, right? So they know exactly what they are doing and what brings customer satisfaction and how it translates into the financial performance. So basically, these are the examples, like practical approaches that the companies are using across the world to link the CX and commercial results. And maybe now it's time to share a little bit between us. What links are you using in addition to what you have said before? Hi, Olga. Hello. Okay, okay, if not, then yes, Samana, yes, please. No, okay. So the last thing I wanted to cover with you is that the influence of other factors. And again, Ali, thank you very much for bringing it to our discussion. It's really important because this is really great to hear that the returns of mortgages have grown 3%. And we already know the $1 million question. Why? Is it really because we became better as a company, as a customer experience? Or maybe because our competitors went bankrupt? Or maybe because the, I don't know, external economical factors, the economy is booming, people have like a better financial stability, and that's the result. And there is no universal approach how you should factor other influencing aspects, but there are some approaches we can think about in order to take this into consideration. First of all, if you want to build a link, you need to look at whether your loyalty and satisfaction metrics, the numbers, have really changed. If you see this change, then yes, okay, then you could probably assume, you could think that there is a link there. What have changed in the banks, if you're a bank, if this is a banking example, in banks' business processes, and how these changes have been tracked? What have you really been doing? What could be the reason for that change? Maybe there are some changes in consumers. Maybe your customer audience have changed and now you're offering mortgages to a more affluent group of customers. So you need to make sure that your customer base is stable, and if it's not stable, then to research what are the parameters of those new people and whether this change is due to you are doing some things better, or maybe that's because you're just talking to different people. Maybe the product have changed. Maybe the conditions of the product are, say, more strict, and you simply don't give the mortgages to the people who are not financially safe. So you have I don't know, more difficult scoring process, and people don't just get the mortgages, those who could not return it. Maybe the competitor environment have changed. This is also important to look into this. Maybe some of your competitors went out of the market and that was the reason. Maybe the external environment have changed, that it could have influenced your numbers. So there are a lot of different factors you need to consider in order to make sure that it's really customer experience that's driving these results. And the core idea is that you cannot find the answers to those questions yourself within CX department. It really needs collaboration with other departments within the company, with finance guys, with marketing, with HR, with operations. Those questions can only be answered together, and only working together on this measurement system with the whole company, across the whole company, you can build the measurement system that everyone can trust and really everyone believes in. And that's the only way you can really trust those numbers yourself and make others within the company to trust you. And basically, we have only 5 minutes left. The time flies. So your key takeaways from today's interactive and discussion and workshop is that it's really important to know what measurement system you have in the company now, really go deep dive into your commercial numbers and understand what are the commercial metrics and operational metrics you are using, your company is using, in addition to CX metrics you are working on. And make sure your CX data is really bulletproof. You believe them, you trust them, they are reliable, they're fair, and you believe them yourself, and you can transfer it to others. Then it's important to find those two links, the link between operational and CX metrics, to understand what really drives good consumer impressions and customer experience. Build the link between customer experience and commercial metrics to translate it into money or some commercial results. Collaborate with other departments on aligning your metrics within the company and watch for influence of other factors. And last but not least, it's really talk numbers, because this is the language the top management, the C-suite really understands and loves. And basically that's all from me, and I'm open the floor to questions. Here are my contact details. You will receive the presentation after the conference, and feel free to get in touch with me. Here are the LinkedIn profile and email and telephone. I'm really open to continue our contact and collaboration. So I'm stopping the presentation now, and let's keep discussing it and answering questions everyone has.
Yeah, there's a question from Syed. No, Syed, Samana says, how do you link commercials with employee satisfaction?
How do you link commercial metrics with employee satisfaction? Would you please repeat that?
Yeah, it says, how do you link commercials with employee satisfaction?
Okay, commercial metrics and employee satisfaction. Again, there could be ways to link that if you, again, use this idea of splitting the levels of people with different employee satisfaction, like satisfied employees, less satisfied, and dissatisfied, like the grades. And then you look at the key performance indicators of those people. And there, again, that's not really the CX topics as such. It really needs to be considered together with your HR guys. They probably know more and better about this, how to link it. But the key is really to see at the key performance indicators and see happy and engaged employees are usually performing better. They are finding innovative solutions. They are faster resolving the issues. They get higher customer satisfaction scores. So if you split them into levels and see the difference, that's probably a way your answer could be. Okay, any more? Have I answered your question?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, Samana just wrote back, yes.
Okay, Samana, thank you. So time for a couple of more questions. If not, I'm really thankful for your input, for your interest. I think it was a great discussion. I really appreciate that it was not a monologue, me talking head, but really us exchanging the experience, exchanging the views. I've learned a lot today, and it was my pleasure to talk to you. I hope we're gonna see each other in any of 6 meetings again. And you enjoy the rest of the day, and I wish you very insightful learnings and great experience at the conference.